Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
hello, everyone.
Everyone. Welcome to Help CDC's Foreclosure Prevention Fight Club, round one. Ding, ding. The reason why we're doing this is because this is about to be foreclosure season. Things are getting ready to go sideways once all of these moratoriums have stopped. And we just felt that we need to be proactive about making sure that everyone out there has the right kind of information. So what's the right information? You need to know about the foreclosure process. While we'll be covering primarily the Florida, sorry, my screen just died on me. Why we will be covering just the Florida process, some of these things translate over to other states as well. So a summons is a summons, right, Camilo? So we're going to go through some of those things for you right this second. Except for the fact that, BJ, I think you're going to need to do it on your side.
Nicole, I agree with you. A summons is a summons. It's really important. Anyone receiving a summons, please read the thing. Summons have very specific instructions on how you need to respond and the time frame. And I can't tell you how many of our clients come to me weeks after receiving it, having not even read the thing. And that's the last place you want to be. Please read your summons and follow the instructions. In most summons, it's pretty simple. You're filing an answer within a certain time frame. 20 calendar days here in Florida from being filed, from receiving the summons. You have 20 calendar days to file an answer.
Okay, but before we jump into too much about the foreclosure process, this is actually our third episode. The first two episodes, we primarily covered evictions and information for renters. So if you haven't seen it, please go and check out our YouTube page. That information is definitely out there for you to watch and get caught up if you like. But today, we're definitely going to just give you an update on what's been going on with that information. So Camilo, can you give us an update on the halting of the evictions and things like that?
Absolutely. So what we have right now in terms of protections from an eviction for the non-payment of rent, they're a little limited. It's important to know they're not automatic. They've recently been extended through March 31st, but it is not automatic. There's a very specific document called a CDC declaration that you must sign and provide to your landlord. And until you've done so, those protections simply do not exist. You need to ask for these protections. So you got to find this document. It's very easy. You can Google it. Just Google CDC declaration. I bet you it's probably the first thing that pops up. Read it. Make sure everything on it is actually true in your circumstance, because by signing it, you're swearing that everything on there is true. Once you've seen it, confirmed it's all true and signed it, give it to your landlord and be ready to file it in any potential eviction case. This slide kind of gives us a little quick overview of what it does and doesn't do. So it is temporary and limited relief. It's residential tenants only. So if you're just a house guest or a family member and you don't have a landlord-tenant relationship, it will not apply to you. It's only for the non-payment of rent. Other types of evictions in general will not be covered. So you got to watch out for lease violations. You got to watch out for expiration of your lease term. Things that are not strictly the non-payment issue may be fair game in courts right now to get someone removed from the property. In most of Florida right now, it's really just the final act of the eviction that's being prevented. As you can see, a lot of people are getting evictions opened against them, and some people are even losing their cases. And in many parts of Florida, it's become clear that the CDC order, the way we're applying it, is only preventing the final step of the eviction. So don't be surprised if a case gets opened against you and even closed. But as long as you do the CDC order, in theory, for the most part, you should be protected from being physically removed from the property through the end of March. Keep in mind, your landlord could ask you to prove all the statements in that CDC declaration. So when you read it and you see all these statements you're making, like what your income is, that you might have lost some income, these things you need to be prepared to corroborate, because your landlord could very well ask for a hearing where they say, look, I need you to prove to me why this CDC order should apply to you. And so you're going to have to prove each declaration within the CDC, or each statement within the CDC declaration. And then this is less likely, but could potentially happen. Just keep in mind, there are certain parts of Florida where some landlords are bringing forth a constitutional challenge. They're pretty few and far between, and whether or not they're successful, we've seen some mixed results. The idea here just being, always try to reach out to a legal aid organization and see if maybe they can give you an individualized consult about your circumstances to see how they can help you and how maybe the CDC order may or may not be able to help you. So in summation, just go check out the CDC declaration. Please go read this thing.
Do most counties have a legal aid available to them, or is it just in the highly populated areas?
Great question. It varies throughout the state. The way I'd put it is Florida is chock full, and the United States is chock full of these legal aid organizations. How they're structured and who they serve will vary from organization to organization, because they're all kind of their own separate entities. What you could do is, here in Florida at least, the Florida Bar Foundation has this great list, and it's one of the resources we'll be providing you, a list of all the legal aid organizations throughout the state and which counties they serve. So definitely, if you're worried about some sort of housing concern or any legal issue, it's worth checking out to see if your local legal aid can help you in your circumstance. And most legal aids don't charge you anything. That's the whole point of us. We're here to help those who are unable to afford legal representation. Not everyone will qualify, but it's worth trying.
Awesome. Do you also suggest going to some of these colleges, law schools who have students that do preparation for people? Because I know there's at least one college here that we would, in the past, we've sent people, hey, go over to that college. They have kids there and that's all they do. They're learning and it's free. Do you suggest that, or just stick to a legal aid and cross your fingers?
I think everyone should try and exhaust all different avenues of support. As far as the law schools, I think that's a great idea. Chances are those law school programs are supervised by an attorney who is experienced. So it's worth a shot. Absolutely. Try and get help wherever you can get it. Just don't hide in the sand. Just please don't do that.
Next slide, BJ. So in more detail about the halting the evictions, these are the links that we have for you. We're also going to put them down in the chat box for you so that you can, there we go, they're already there, so that you can access this information for yourself. Like you said, click and read the declaration for yourself. There's one on here for consumerfinance.gov. We're going to talk to you more about that later on. But there's that list of legal aid organizations in Florida, if you're local, that he had mentioned to you. So now you have that information. Please copy and paste those links so that you can access them later. Awesome. So we're going to watch a video on, and it starts automatically, BJ. We're going to watch this video on what is foreclosure. I just put that in the search window. I need videos on foreclosure, and I was able to find something that was very clear, and it's even called What is Foreclosure? Foreclosure Explained for Beginners in Simple English. I mean, I had to use it, right? So as soon as BJ gets it moving for us, then we're gonna all get a chance to learn about what is foreclosure. That's a nervous smile, BJ.
The technical difficulties is not playing.
Okay, so while we wait for that to load, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Nicole. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at Help CDC, and I have been with Help CDC for many years, but we're doing this because we know that you need this information. And we know that there's not a lot of places where you're gonna get this information and in a way that is in simple English. So that's why we're here and that's why we're doing it. My name is Nicole.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Quinones, and I am a HUD-Certified counselor here, senior counselor. I've been here for many years as well. Maria?
Hello, my name is Maria Blandon. I am the Compliance and Program Manager and also a HUD-Certified counselor, and we are here to help you anytime.
Hi, my name is BJ. If you see, it's Blenny Donatis, but everybody call me BJ. Been with the company for many years as well, and just wanting to do anything we can to be able to help the community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony. I'm the client service representative. I've been here for many years, and I'm just as adamant and excited to help any of you who may need some help. When you call us, I'm the guy that's going to be talking to you. So yeah.
Camilo? Camilo, do you want to introduce yourself real fast before the video starts?
A homeowner buys a house and a lender makes a loan. The loan is then resold and the money is used to make more loans. A homeowner buys a house and a lender makes a loan. The loan is then resold and the money is used to make more loans. A servicer collects mortgage payments from the original loan borrower. If the borrower is late or does not make payments, the loan is defaulted. The servicer starts to file for foreclosure. The servicer hires an attorney 30 to 90 days later. A title search is conducted to determine all the property owners and liens. The lawyer files a complaint and issues a notice that a lawsuit is pending. A summons is sent to the borrower. If borrower cannot be found, a notice is published in a daily publication. A copy of the notice is also mailed to the borrower's last known address. If there is no response from the borrower within 20 days, the servicer requests the clerk of court records the loan is in default. The borrower can file a motion to dismiss the case. A mediation between the borrower and servicer is scheduled 120 days after foreclosure complaint is filed. Mediator files a report with the court. If borrower does not participate, the foreclosure can proceed. Lender files a motion for summary judgment and a hearing is scheduled. Judge approves the foreclosure and an online sale is scheduled 10 days or more after the judgment. Sale can be stopped if the borrower files for bankruptcy. If the sale occurs, a sale certificate will be issued 10 days after sale. The new homeowner is issued a certificate of title. If the house is still occupied by the former owner, the sheriff evicts him or her with a writ of possession. If the sale does not raise enough money to pay off the original mortgage, a deficiency judgment can be filed against the former borrower 5 years later.
All of that is like kind of scary business, isn't it? Especially when they talk about putting you out of your house after, you know, it's kind of scary. So Camilo, we're going to talk about what is foreclosure. And as soon as, let's see, BJ, are you going to, BJ looks busy. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in for BJ. So from this video that we were watching, what we noticed was a homeowner buys a house. We got that part. A lender makes a loan. We got that part. The loan is then resold and the money is used to make more loans. What's that all about, Camilo?
So many loans do change servicers. Many loans will not stay with the same lender that originally made the loan. And here in Florida, it happens pretty frequently across the United States as well. You'll change in servicers. Someone else may one day tell you, hey, I'm your new servicer. I'm the person you got to make these mortgage payments to now. It is really important for people to always update their forwarding address with whoever their mortgage servicer is. And it's really important that if you get a letter from a mortgage servicer you don't recognize, please don't throw that away. Look at it, see if maybe it is for you. Maybe it is a new servicer. I have a little bit of a horror story of a client who one time had a new servicer, and the client just really did not get along with the new loan servicer. He didn't care for them. Unfortunately, he stopped making payments. His loan did go into default. And bottom line, just because you don't get along with the new mortgage servicer is not a legal reason to stop making payments. He still had to keep making those payments. So in summation, this can happen. Make sure you update your forwarding addresses. Make sure any letter you receive from a bank, a mortgage servicer, or something that's talking to you about your home and your mortgage, don't just throw it out. Read it. Make sure it is actually spam mail before you throw it in the trash.
One thing we've always had to deal with dealing with our clients, there comes a time when they stop opening their mail, just because they don't like to see the bills or things like that. And so they don't even know that the loan was sold because they just had stopped looking at mail many, many moons ago. And then what could they do in that situation? If you are in foreclosure with a company that you didn't even know had your mortgage, is there anything that they could do about that? Do they get to say, no, I want to go back and deal with my old company?
Generally, no. Now, I could foresee some circumstances where the client or the homeowner would have the right to maybe ask the new lender, please prove to me that you're actually my lender now, please prove, or my servicer, please prove to me that this is all true. And that seems perfectly fine. But just because you're not happy with the new servicer is not a legally sufficient reason to stop making payments. And you could end up losing your home if you just decide that you're going to stop paying because you don't like what's happening. One thing, and I hate saying this, and I do say it often though, just because something doesn't necessarily seem fair, or just because something doesn't necessarily seem even right to you, does not mean that it's illegal. And in many cases, what is not fair or what might not be nice is still perfectly legal. So just please don't hide your head in the sand, read your mail.
Well, we know sometimes the customer service can be in another country, and that can be a challenge for some of our clients because they don't like dealing with people with accents. I mean, we've heard a lot, right, Sandra and Maria?
Oh, yes.
We've heard a lot of stories where they don't even, I'm not calling India. How could they have my mortgage? I mean, we've heard a lot of crazy things in these offices from clients who just don't understand that they don't have that kind of ownership. So I guess that's the word, of their property as they thought they did. So the next part is a servicer collects your mortgage payments from the original loan borrower. Let's talk about what a servicer is versus a lender, because I think there's some confusion about that. Does anyone agree with me?
Yes.
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 I agree. That confused me for a long time when I was at a title company. Bottom line, your lender is who lent you the money. That's who you originally received the funds to buy your home from. The servicer is just who's in charge of collecting the money from you. And these guys can change, and they can change very frequently. You might have a servicer change 5 times in a very short amount of time. That's why you got to read your mail.
Yes. Yes.
That's true.
Okay, so that's the difference between a servicer and a lender. So these investors, if they don't want to deal with you, they can pay somebody else to deal with their properties. That's kind of what it sounds like.
That's a really interesting way to put it. Bottom line, a loan can be sold. Most mortgages, when you read the documents, it tells you we're allowed to sell this thing. We're not stuck with this loan.
Yeah, I had asked someone once if there's a way that you could find it in all of those pages, you know, like where is that paragraph in all of that stuff, and how come nobody is telling anybody about it, you know?
Circling that
right
little section.
All right, so if the borrower is late or does not make payments, the loan is defaulted, the D word. Let's talk about it. Camilo?
So the default is really just the first step. It's where you're no longer making timely payments. When your loan has been defaulted, based on most mortgage documents, the servicer is actually allowed to, once you've become in default, so once you're behind and you're not making timely payments, most mortgages permit them to accelerate the debt, which basically means what used to be a payment plan, effectively, what used to be a payment schedule is now you owe us all this money right now. And that's what leads to the foreclosure. The fact that most mortgages, right in the documents, it says, if you're late, we're allowed to tell you these payments aren't the plan anymore. This is all due now.
And it's the 90-day mark, correct? At least that's here in the state of Florida. We've always told our clients it's 90 days, and that's what it says. If, as long as you, well, some people back in the last time that there was a housing crisis were told to not make payments at one point, and then they found out later that that wasn't the right answer. And then they came back later and they said, okay, just so that you can stay out of foreclosure, if you stay 2 months behind in payments, even if you stay 2 months behind for 2 years, as long as you don't hit that 90-day threshold, they cannot begin the foreclosure process. Is that true? Or did someone lie to me?
So they are supposed to wait 90 days for you to get all of your property or initiating a foreclosure action. But what I think is the most important thing to address here is the advice for people, what to do right now. I know people are scared right now. I know people are really struggling right now. And this might not be the easiest answer, and this might not be what people want to hear, but the answer is pick up your phone, call your mortgage servicer, let them know what's going on, see what options are available. By hiding and by not communicating with them, you're becoming a statistic. You're becoming the countless other individuals they deal with who are doing the same thing. And so, of course, they're going to follow their legal processes, and they're going to, unfortunately, try to take your home. So please pick up your phone, call your mortgage servicer, let them know what you're going through. There's fortunately a lot of relief options right now. Now, normally there's relief options, but especially right now, because of the pandemic, we have the CARES Act, and it was extended recently through June 30th by at least the provisions that allow mortgage relief to FHA loans, so federally backed loans. The idea is until you call them and ask them what's available to you, until you call them and tell them what's going on, no one's going to really be able to help you. And if you wait to the point where they've already opened that case, what you're expected to pay is going to skyrocket when it comes to the fees of the attorney who is now in charge of trying to collect this from you. Most mortgages and the Florida law itself allow a mortgage servicer to charge the borrower the attorney's fees that it costs them to get them to pay.
Yes. And the sooner they call, the better options they have.
Absolutely. There's no time to wait.
Yes.
So that means they need to open their mail instead of just looking at it and just throwing it to the side like, it's just a bill. It's just a bill.
And a lot of our homeowners are scared to call on their own, like Nicole said earlier, because of maybe they're in India and they don't understand. That's why they come to us, a HUD housing counselor, to actually be that third party, and we call with the client on the phone. So they're not alone, because there is a lot of clients that are scared to open their mail. We have gotten clients that bring all their mail and we open it for them in the office. But it's okay. That's what we're there for.
And that actually, that makes me think of something that I just want to really quickly plug. HUD-certified counselors. This is who you want to look for. Please don't go on the internet and then just like go find some random website where they're like, oh, you know, we'll charge you this amount and you won't have to worry about it. We'll save your home. If someone's charging you money and promising you to save your home, there's a chance you're getting scammed. There's a very good chance you're
99.9.
Please.
Yeah.
Run.
You can go to HUD.gov.
HUD, exactly. HUD certified counselors is what you are looking for, or an attorney, of course.
Awesome.
Yes.
So as Sandra was letting you know, the fastest way to find a HUD certified housing counselor or a HUD certified or HUD approved agency is to go to HUD.gov. Just go to that website and go into the finding resources, and they'll help. It's all over that site because they really want you to get connected with these HUD agencies. We're out here. A lot of our services are free, especially for foreclosure. We can't charge you for foreclosure. So go get the free help. Go let someone else talk to the person in India with you sitting there, because we're not going to do everything for you. It's your home. You have to participate, but you do have the free help, and it's available in every city practically. I mean, like nowadays, everywhere. You can still see a HUD counselor without going into an office because everything is done virtually. So literally, we do service the entire state of Florida, even though we are in Central Florida. So find a HUD certified counselor to get you some free help. Free is my favorite price.
And it's easy to do it. Just open the link, HUD.gov, put your zip code, and it's going to pop up all the agencies around your place.
As a matter of fact, while we're here, one of you needs to go to HUD.gov so that we can share that site with them, take them to the map screen, or at least where they can put in that information. I want to show you just how easy it is. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Sandra can pull that up. But it's very important that you go to that website, HUD.gov, lots of information, whether it's even for reverse mortgage. I mean, just go check it out. Trust us. All right, so here we go. This is the website. Tell us where you're at, Sandra. Which screen?
You go to HUD.gov and then you go to find, okay, hold on, because I got you guys floating. Okay, you go to find approved housing counselor agency. Okay, click. Then wherever state you're at.
Or you can go on to the actual state itself and click on it, your state.
Just to make it easier.
And then you can narrow your search and you could put your zip code.
And then, oh, she put the zip code that didn't have anything. But we're going to try another zip code. Try 32808.
32808.
That should at least pull us up, I would hope.
And there you go.
Oh, well, one agency came up for the 32808 area code. So you can either do something general by putting in a city, or you can try to zoom into
or if you know the name,
specific information. And as you can see for this agency, Operation Hope, you can see their services are listed there. So you want to make sure you find one that has the services that you're looking for and that they have the language. So if you need another language, there would have other options, English, Creole, and things like that, Spanish. So definitely check out this website, HUD.gov. It's where you need to be, especially if you're struggling and you need some free assistance. This is where you go.
Awesome. And if you would like us to help you, use to help CDC, zip code 32751.
Correct.
Right.
So that's where we would be. So Sandra, you can stop sharing your situation. So Camilo, we're going to go back to your slide so that you can just share a little bit more information about the foreclosure process on the bottom of that screen. Oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. So what is an actual foreclosure? It's just the process for which a bank or a lender and there's other types of foreclosures, but where an entity is trying to, because of some sort of default, and usually this is payment related. There's some sort of contract saying you're supposed to pay X amount on X date. Because they failed to, they're trying to use a process through the courts to ask a judge to give them the right to sell your home at a public auction. And then with that money, they try to pay off whatever you still owe. And in some cases, and this is important to keep in mind, if when your home is sold at a foreclosure auction sale, if there's a deficiency, if it sells for less than what your balance is remaining on your loan, they could very well come after you for a deficiency judgment where they're saying, look, we sold the home because we're allowed to, because the laws allow us and because our mortgage documents said we were going to. But now we didn't get what we had actually put into this home, so now you're on the hook for it. So it's a very serious thing that even for those of us who maybe are in such a fortunate position where they're like, all right, if I lose the home, I lose the home. It's not quite that simple. You could very well end up with a judgment where it's not just the home you're losing. Now you're stuck with a judgment against your name, which once they have that judgment, that piece of paper saying that you owe a certain amount of money, there's a bunch of ways they can try to come after you for that. And in later episodes, we're going to go into detail on these forms of debt collections and what they can do with judgments. But for now, we're staying focused on the very beginning of the foreclosure.
I was told that when they serve you with the paper, they can give it to anybody in the household that is above or looks above the age of 18. Is that true? Or do they have to wait until they catch you, like hide in the bush, wait until you come home and then jump out? And, how do they do that?
So service of process here in Florida, it can be personal. So if they find you and you admit who you are, then yeah, then you've been served. As far as if it's for this type of action where there's a property and they send someone over to the property, you're right. If they get someone over a certain age, and I'm fairly certain it's 16, embarrassingly, I don't remember if it's 16 or 15. It's one of those two. If they find someone in the property above a certain age, they can leave it with that person.
Okay, well then, you 16-year-old people, stay away from those doors. Don't answer the door. Well, we don't want you to hide, necessarily, but definitely, yeah, that's good to know. That's very good to know.
And a quick, somewhat unrelated thing that I just want to bring up is that for an eviction, they don't even have, like if they're trying to serve you with a summons for an eviction here in Florida, they don't even have to get someone at the door. They're allowed to stick that thing to the door after they've tried twice with a 6-hour window in between and they failed twice. They can just stick that thing to the door. So don't get confident in that just because they can't find you at the door, you might not get evicted. If we're talking about an eviction, they can stick that thing to the door.
Well, okay, because the process is a public process. As soon as something gets filed, you start getting mail that lets you know the jig is up. I mean, you start getting mail from all kinds of attorneys. Am I right or am I right?
That's a great point. You may very well receive advertisements or some sort of other tip that's out there before you even get the summons. That's a great point. So if you start receiving that stuff, maybe something's going on. Like, and this is another similar example is if anyone's ever gotten a traffic ticket, isn't it a little eerie how like within a couple of weeks you start getting mail from attorneys about your traffic ticket? It's very similar.
But these documents are public information, so anyone can pull up and pull your database. And that's why when you do get a ticket and it pops up for the clerk of court's office, you get the letter coming in saying, oh, come to class, or we'll help you fight the ticket.
So it's the same with the foreclosure process. You start getting mail that lets you know something has been filed. But that's the other thing, because it is public, you really, if you're in foreclosure and you want to know about the process, you should be going to your county's official records. Wouldn't you suggest that, Camilo, to go and look it up and see exactly what's out there attached to yourself? Or should they just hide their head in the sand. We know you love when people do that.
I on the court's website, I search my own name just to make sure there's not something I don't know about. And what's funny is I have a horror story about that happening to me one time. I'll admit I had some tolls that I didn't pay in time. I barely caught what would have been basically my license could very well, my driver's license could very well have been revoked if I just one day later bothered to just plug my name into the Orange County Clerk of Court's website and find out, I wonder what happened with these old traffic things. I caught it in time. So that is a perfectly fine thing to do, especially if you know you're at risk of this sort of thing. Search your name in your clerk of court in the county you reside in, see if anyone's filed anything. But don't stop there if you're really paranoid. Let's say you're pretty certain that something's going on and you're not finding your own name. Try the other party's name. Try your, like in the example of like landlord tenant, a lot of landlord will know your name. Try their name. If landlord's not an individual, if they're a business, you got to figure out the name of that business because they do misspell names sometimes, and then it's harder for you to find them.
You were cutting in and out a little bit there, Camilo. But I think we got the gist of it. We should be out there checking our names just for giggles periodically, just to stay abreast of the situation. That's pretty much where you were going with that?
Yes, if you're at all concerned that someone might be trying to sue you, it wouldn't hurt to check in the clerk of court where you reside. So Orange County for me and anyone else living here, just to see if there's anything under your name. And if you don't find it, but you're expecting it, maybe try the other party's name because maybe they misspelled your name. You know what I mean? And that's why you're not finding it under your name.
That is such a good point. Human error is real, especially in those courts. And sometimes this happened with one of our clients in the past. We went to go put their name in and they had one of those names. It was like Shakespeare or something, but it wasn't spelled the normal way. It was spelled different because, you know, that's how we do it. And whoever put it into the system didn't put it in correctly. So every time they would search their name, nothing would come up. But then for some reason, we accidentally did something different and boom, all of this information popped up. And we were like, what the? And it wasn't, the name was spelled correctly, but input into the system, it was put in incorrectly. What do you do?
Yeah, the clerical error happens.
And that's something you said to Camilo about if you are renting a house and the actual homeowner is in foreclosure. And so they're pocketing the money. So if something like that was to happen to those who are watching, our viewers on Facebook, if they're renting a house, should they be concerned that maybe they're landlord is just pocketing the money and they're going into foreclosure because they could have a different address to where the documents would need to go?
I love your question because I wish more people knew the answer to this question. I wish more of my clients knew about this before they got in trouble. So let's take an example of you're renting a place and you just figured out that the property might be in foreclosure. That does not mean stop paying the rent. I repeat, if you find out the property's in foreclosure, please do not stop paying the rent because until the property has actually changed ownership, until there is an actual document, and in the case for a foreclosure, it would be the certificate of title. Until that document exists, meaning someone else is the owner, then your landlord, regardless of the status of the property in a foreclosure action or not, they're still the owner and you still have a contract with them and you still have to pay them. We've had a few clients before come to us after having stopped paying for several months, realizing that the property was just in foreclosure. It hadn't actually been foreclosed upon yet. It still had the same property owner. And then we had to basically convince the landlord not to evict them for failing to pay rent on time. So thank you for asking this question. It's super important people know until the property's changed name and ownership, you still owe rent to that original landlord, even if it's in foreclosure.
I gotta fight with you, Camilo. I gotta fight with you because people are not gonna feel warm and fuzzy when you have to send money to someone and you just know that you know in your heart of heart that $800 you just sent isn't making it to Bank of America. I mean, and you still want them to give it to them? Okay. Wait, can we do an escrow account? Can we open up a separate account and have it go someplace to the side until we figure this thing out? Can we do that?
If you found an attorney who's instructed you to do so and they've set up an escrow account, I don't think there's a problem with that, but do it through an attorney. What I'm getting at is I don't want anyone to put themselves at risk of being evicted just because they know the property may be in foreclosure, because we don't know if it's actually going to get foreclosed. We really don't know. And technically, until the property changed ownership, you are still contractually obligated to pay rent to the person you entered the lease with. You know what I mean? And so I get it. Like, I understand how frustrating that can be. And I understand, and maybe the most important takeaway from this is obviously, if you know the property's in foreclosure, you should know that your housing is a little less stable than if it wasn't, in that we don't know what this new property owner wants to do with the property. I've seen some horror stories where the new property owner isn't even aware of the tenant until they've received the property. And then it gets real messy. And it comes down to, do you have a lease or not? And I know some tenants who didn't have a lease, and that means they're month to month. And I think on episode 1, we spent a whole thing about how month to month tenancy is just, it's tough. It's not stable. You're a 15-day letter away from being on the streets. So I guess what I'm getting at is, please don't stop paying rent until you know for sure that there's a new owner who has the title of this property, because I don't want you to risk getting evicted just for that.
All right, Camilo, that hurt, but I
get
it.
I
get it.
I get it too.
And they're riding in a nice car, and their mortgage is paid. This is their investment property. So, that's the first one they're going to stop paying on. When your money gets tight, you're going to not cover your dwelling. I mean, you know what I mean? Your investment property is the one you're going to stop paying on. At least if I were a shady owner, that's what I would do.
and they're out there. You're right. And it doesn't feel right, especially when someone's living large and you're worried about where you're going to live next. But don't risk your own housing stability just because something doesn't sit right with you. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of things in law don't always sit right with me or with many attorneys. And that doesn't mean that we don't tell people the truth. You know what I mean? And tell them what the repercussions could be, even when it's tough news. A lot of my job is just giving people bad news and giving people advice that seems painful, because I'm asking people to do things that just seems maybe wrong on on a human level. But the laws are far from perfect. You know what I mean? Society is complicated and messy. And one thing I hope everyone's aware of is we live in Florida. And at least here in Florida, when it comes to property owner versus non-property owner, in many cases, like a tenant, cards are kind of stacked for the property owner. Florida law is pretty much in the benefit of the property owner. And that's important to keep in mind, that you're not always going to see things that seem very fair, and you're not always going to see things that have good outcomes. But we gotta be aware of these problems in order to change them.
Right.
I would like to mention something, Camilo. In the past years, we had a client, and the tenant referred the landlord to us. And we hold the landlord to save the home, and he got a modification.
Yes.
So there's something that the tenants can do too. Refer your landlords to have agencies.
Yes. So, and what's funny is what you just said right there reminded me what I used to tell everyone when we first kind of started this whole pandemic thing. And it's that everybody's struggling right now. Landlords are struggling, tenants are struggling, service providers like us here on the screen, we're struggling. Everybody's struggling. There's a lot of work out there. There's a lot of people suffering. So Be patient with one another. Be compassionate with one another. I'm not sitting here like standing up for landlords. But you got to cut them a break. If there was ever a time to cut them a break, it's now. They are probably having some tenants who aren't paying. They're struggling to pay their mortgages. They're struggling to pay their employees. So if there was ever a time to give each other a break, people, it's right now. And you'd be shocked at how far you'll get with, in some cases, what used to be a very unpleasant landlord. If you open the conversation with like, look, I know you guys are struggling. I'm really sorry what you guys are going through. We're struggling too. Let's try to figure out a way where everybody at least can mitigate what they're going through. I apologize. There's a cat right behind my head on a couch that is just barely appearing. Anyways.
Hello, I told you to kill that cat. I made a request.
For the record, I think the viewers will agree with me. The cat's staying. That's my baby.
I wanted to bring up the fact that because of the last housing crisis, I saw something change where if someone is renting the house, then you get served papers, like they're getting documents. What's that all about? Like, I didn't understand like what was the need, but they list you are a tenant and you need to be aware that this house has been entered into foreclosure.
As a tenant, the cat moved. As a tenant, you have a property interest in the right. Now, it's not an ownership interest. You don't own the property. But as a tenant, you have what I'd call, now, some attorneys may be mad at me because I might misspeak here, but I would describe it as a possessory interest. The reason some attorneys might be mad is because that's an actual thing and I might be misquoting it, but think of it that way. As a tenant, you have an interest to the property as you possess it. You're holding it, you're living there. That's where all your stuff is. So in order for the foreclosure to not infringe on the due process rights of that tenant and their interest to the property, because it's their home effectively for now, they have to make sure that tenant's aware of that foreclosure action as well. So you will often see most foreclosures, they'll list a bunch of defendants. And a lot of times the defendant will be the tenant they know by name. And a lot of times they won't know the name or they won't take any chances. They'll just put all other occupants or on occupant one, occupant two, whoever they might know something about. If you're one of those tenants, what I do encourage you to do if you receive one of those letters is talk to your property owner and make sure they're aware, because who knows, maybe they didn't know. And if when you speak to them, they're not being forthcoming with you, maybe that's a good time to reach out to a legal aid organization and just make sure that you're not getting scammed or anything like that.
Now, could the tenant go to, because now they're doing, the stuff online when they're selling the property, could they put an interest to try to purchase the property?
So if you're saying, could the tenant in theory purchase the home at the foreclosure auction, I see no reason why it wouldn't be possible, but realistically, and then this is just speaking from my client base, most of my clients can't afford to buy a home in a foreclosure auction sale. Usually it's an investor, somebody somewhere with a bunch of money laying around, not me and not my clients, But it is possible.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. We are going to hit our resource for the week. BJ should be about ready to share that with you. Our resource for the week, we are doing this. CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the big dogs. This is where you need to go. Go to their website. They have a lot of information. BJ is going to go to that site and she's going to share that information so you know when you go there where you should be clicking around. Are you ready, BJ?
Yes, I am.
All right.
I got to get a cool background like you guys have.
Oh, it's awesome. Just think, Nicole.
That'll be $50.
Here's the site for CFPB. Once you click on, and I'm going to put it in the chat for Facebook as well, when you're clicking on to get onto the page, you can either go on Get Mortgage Help, for if you are struggling, take action if you are in a forbearance, get help if you are a renter. So let's click on Get Mortgage Help. And it's so much different information. You can request a forbearance mortgage relief. They're telling you to contact your servicer.
Check out all those languages too, Espanol and those things I can't read.
So it's in different languages that will be able to help you. You can share it too on your Facebook, your Twitter, Instagram. You could print it out so you can read it. Anything far as with mortgage forbearance during the COVID-19, what you need to know, what you need to do, and then what mortgage forbearance ending, time to take the next step. What are you going to do afterwards? And what about if you're worried about your mortgage payment and you need help? So it's so much different information that you can log on to. They even have a great video that you can watch and just learn even more, and different questions that you can ask as well.
We love the CFPB website. There's lots of information. Please go to that site and click around, whether you're a renter or a homeowner. There's a lot of information. Even if you're not a renter or homeowner, they have information on there about saving money, about building, credit. You can do a complaint. That's the main reason why we wanted to tell you guys about that site. That is where you can file a complaint. BJ, can you pull that back up? Because that is important. Not that we want everyone to run and go and complain and go tell on mommy and daddy, but you need to know where you can. See, top right corner, submit a complaint. Boom. It's just that easy. I don't know what you have to complain about, but if you did need to complain, that's how easy it would be for you to get assistance from CFPB.
And it tells you how to do it, what you need, the steps on before you start submitting it. So much information.
So please go and hang out on that website and get cozy, comfortable, because that's very important. All right, thanks, BJ. All right, so we are going to go ahead over here and keep this party moving. All right, so this is our 2 cents. And you're like, okay, so what's that all about? We just want you to understand that what we do all day long, we're a housing counseling agency. We help people with their money. We help them, whether they're trying to get into a home, trying to save their home. We do reverse mortgage. We do lots of different things. The reality of the situation is that your finances can, propel you to where you want to go and what you want to do in life. If you can't get your finances in order, not that you can't have a good life. Because there are people out there that probably are making it happen, but I don't know how they're sleeping at night because when my money is funny, my head gets a little wacky. So sometimes it's good to just work on a budget and get free help. That's what these housing counselors do at these free HUD agencies. You sit down with your bills and things like that, and you build a spending and saving plan. So we're just going to share a little bit of information with you, our 2 cents on saving, your savings. This information comes from FDIC, Money Smart for Adults. This is their latest series that they updated in September 2018. This is what we use for our one-on-one appointments when we're doing the financial education in our appointments. Every single appointment, you're going to see at least one slide to learn something new, hopefully, about either saving money or something towards your goal. Some people need to learn how to goal set, and even that's a part of the FDIC packet. So I'm going to turn this over to my real counselors. That's not me. They're going to go over this slide with you on saving money. Sandra.
Yes. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for that. Like Nicole said, I do get wonky too when my savings is going down. Today, we're going to just give a tip. Spending less money is the same as saving money only if you save what you didn't spend. Remember, saving is setting aside some of your money today for the use of the future. For example, if you buy a coat marked down from $60 to $40, it may seem like you saved $20, but you are not building your savings unless you put the $20 that you didn't spend into your savings account. That's the only way that you're saving that $20. Not saving it and then going to spend it on something else. That's my tip for today. And we're going to have Maria translate that in Spanish.
Ahora, ya que tenemos consejeros que son bilingües, inglés y español, pues para aquellas personas que hablan español, les daremos un consejo de ahorro. Gastar menos dinero es lo mismo que ahorrar dinero, solo si ahorra lo que no gastó. Recuerde, ahorrar es reservar parte de su dinero de hoy para usarlo en el futuro. Por ejemplo, si compra un abrigo por un precio rebajado de $60 a $40, puede parecer que ahorró $20, pero no está acumulando ahorros a menos que ponga los $20 que no gastó en su fondo de ahorros.
Exactamente. Gracias, María.
Exactamente.
I don't speak Spanish, but I think she's right. No, I'm just kidding. She is a counselor. She is a certified counselor. You can trust what she's saying. What we're trying to say, all in all, is it's only saving money when you take the extra and you put it in an account to the side. If you take that extra and you decide, okay, that's an extra trip to ABC Liquor, or that's an extra trip to Macy's, or I'm going to buy that lipstick that then you didn't save any money. You just spent it someplace else.
Yes.
So you have to take that savings and then put it into a separate account. If you were to work with a HUD-certified housing counselor, they're going to tell you to treat your savings like a bill. You said what? Yes, treat your savings like a bill. What? Yes, you got to put money in that account. Is just like you pay your rent, just like you pay your car note, insurance. You put some money in your savings. That is your future. You have to start getting in the habit. So even if you have to get a jar that you're dropping coins in, then do it. Everybody used to do that. I mean, that's so old school, but it still works. Get a knife, don't hurt yourself, cut the hole in the top, and you've got a piggy bank.
Instantly.
Instant savings. So that's just our 2 cents. We want you to start saving money because the reality of it is if you're not paying your mortgage, you should be saving some money.
And this is tax season. So a lot of people are going to be getting large sum of refund back. And this is the perfect time to be able to put money to the side, especially for those who are on forbearances and not knowing what they're going to do. If their loan is going to be on the past due, is going to be put on the back end of the loan. You just never know.
Yes. So please save your money. You should be doing it automatically, but definitely sometimes it helps when you're negotiating, and the counselors will tell you when they get on the call, sometimes with the lenders will ask, what are you coming to the table with? Yeah, we know you owe us $89,000, but what do you have towards that since you haven't paid us for the last 3 years? It's always nice to be able to say, hey, I do have a couple of thousand, I have 6,000, or I have something put aside. They want to hear that you have some skin in the game again. So that's just our little 2 cents that you should be putting some money aside, period, because you never know. Another COVID situation. Oh, we don't want to talk about COVID, do we? We're over COVID, right? So not only are we over COVID, but we are over with Can They Do That for today.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Can They Do That? If you heard something that you know your friends or family need to hear, make sure you tag them below or share it out on your social media feeds. Be sure to like and follow our Facebook page and YouTube channel so you can stay plugged in with us weekly. Before you go, we want to share a few of our services that you may find helpful in supporting your financial and housing goals. First, Help CDC offers a live homebuyers education workshop where we teach you the important steps to buying your home with ease. If you're not quite ready to buy now, but want to start working on saving money, building, or repairing your credit, then our Homebuyers Training Club is a perfect fit to help you zoom into home ownership faster than you thought possible. Ready to make this your best financial year ever? Well, you can with our Change program, where we help you take control of your money and create a plan of action that will get you out of debt, save money, and achieve your financial goals. Now, if your student loans have you feeling buried, then our Student Loan Action Plan is just right for you. Our evaluation will help you determine what options are best to help you accelerate paying them off. Falling behind on your mortgage? We can help you. Our Foreclosure Prevention Fight Club can help you assess your options for saving your home and help you work with your lender to get an agreement that works with your budget. Lastly, if you're 62 or older and have equity in your home, hooray! You may benefit from a reverse mortgage. Help CDC provides free counseling to help you determine if converting the equity in your home into available cash is right for you. You can learn more about all of these programs and services by checking out our events tab on our Facebook page or visiting helpcdc.org. If you have any further questions and would like to speak to us directly, feel free to call us at 407-628-4832. Be sure to tune in next month for our next episode of Can They Do That?